Hey everybody, looks like we got 3 in here right now. Let me get my microphone a little closer so you guys can hear me so I don't sound like I'm in a big tunnel. I was almost late for my own stream because I was messing with my lights and trying to get them correct. Hey Texas. I may have to step out of here. Brandon's kind of restless tonight. He did eat better today. He ended up eating a whole bowl of food, so I was happy that he did that. But he's kind of restless tonight, so if he starts barking, I may have to go in there and attend to him or bring him back here or whatever. God, my hair is just terrible tonight. It's not wanting to lay down. That's bad. Sorry, guys. It's got static electricity in it and everything else, which is why it's a good thing I wear a hat when I do these. And if you notice this dark, grape-looking stuff that I'm drinking tonight. Hey, Rooster. It is not wine. It is grape juice. Because my blood sugar's been kind of wonky today. I'm not sure what's going on with it, but may have to get up and get another, I already had a snack, but I may have to get a little something else because I don't know. Any of you guys that are either diabetic or deal with low blood sugar, Steve's not diabetic, but sometimes his blood sugar gets low. You understand the kind of like the headaches and the swimmy head and all of that stuff, which it would have to happen right before I got ready to go on this stream, which also means I might have to step away and get, I don't know, some peanut butter and crackers, make a half peanut butter sandwich or something like that before I get too deep into the stream. And I can tell I'm rambling, which is another, I'm not confused, thankfully, because I was able to to get some juice in me, but I'm just not quite myself. It's kind of hard to think and stuff whenever you get like this. So I tell you what, guys, I know Texas, you and Rooster won't mind if I step away and just, like I said, make myself a peanut butter sandwich because I think I need something a little more than the juice. But I will be right back, okay? Oh, okay. Didn't lose anybody. It looks like I got 4 in here now. Uh, a lot of times I don't even, think about having diabetes, but sometimes I just hate it because of times like this where you gotta you go to get started doing something and you can't even think because you're so swimmy headed. Hey, Dirk. Well, we're gonna talk about terror in the house tonight, Dirk, as soon as I can get my blood sugar back up enough to concentrate on what I was going to talk about. Speaking of rain, we're getting some rain now, actually. Thankfully, knock on wood, since we had those big winds that knocked the power out a few weeks ago, about a couple of weeks ago or whatever. It hadn't been really windy for March, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. Yeah, Rooster, those weather apps sometimes are a little off. Even my devices around the house, I've got a bunch of Echo devices, or Amazon devices, whatever you want to call them. And Dirk, you say that's always a good topic. Well, I thought it's one that I hadn't really focused on. Steve was like, "Hey, are you going to do a stream tonight?" I think he thinks I'm going to run out of topics to talk about, I guess. Because he did ask me one night, he was like, you're doing all these watch alongs. He said, "What's going to happen when you run out of movies?" I'm like, I would never run out of movies. Because, even if we did run out of horror movies, I could always switch to something else. There's no law that says I just have to keep covering horror movies. But anyway, I am going to get started here in a second, guys. But I did want to remind everybody that tomorrow night, barring, anything going on with me or TJ that prevents us from doing our Wednesday stream, we should be doing the second half of season 3 of Tales from the Dark Side. So you guys can look forward to that. I don't know about Thursday, what I'll be doing or won't be doing or whatever, but you never know with me. I wasn't really planning on doing one of these tonight. But then I thought, oh, what the hey? Oh, let's do something, until I thought about it a little bit and came up with this idea. Yeah, Dirk, you were right. You can dig into home invasion, which I'm going to be covering a lot of older stuff, which I don't think a lot of that stuff probably counts as home invasion type of movies. I mean, you guys may disagree with me, but I think that home invasion stuff started quite a bit later than the movies I'm going to talk about tonight. Because I'm not going to talk about funny games or, The Strangers or any of that type of stuff. So I hope that doesn't disappoint you, Dirk. Dirk, you say tons of foreign horror that I'm still finding daily. Yeah, I mean, I don't really think we're ever going to run out of horror or. Oh my gosh, Sammy's barking now. He barks every time Brandon gets up and starts pacing, or Brandon, bless his heart, falls down or bumps against something. I don't know why, but he does. And they do this stuff every time I'm getting ready to do a stream. Every time. I know I complain about that every time I get ready to go on stream, but it's like things will be pretty calm. And then as soon as it doesn't matter what time I do it, if I do it late, it's the same thing. If I do it early, it's the same. So, man. Oh, I got you, Dirk. You say, yeah, no, I'm just saying a different topic for another day. Yeah, I could dig into, guys, I'm so sorry. But if he wakes Steve up, there'll be hell to pay. I don't know what they were all doing. They all, except Brandon, came to the gate and were acting like I was going to give them food or something. But yeah, I might do the home invasion thing at some point. That's right, Dirk. The captain will have people walking the plank. He'll have me and the dogs walking the plank. Um, I did get some, and I forgot to bring it back here with me, but I did get some things in today from Amazon, and I found out that my City of the Living Dead 4K shipped today from Diabolic. So I'm looking forward to that. And I know, Steve got one too. He got his yesterday, but he didn't open it till today. Um, but that's a movie I love, and so even though me and Steve are married, and we could share each other's movies till the end of time, but or the end of our time on this earth, but there are just some movies that I like to have my own copy of just because I'm such a fan of them. The Evil Dead movies, the Friday the 13th movies, stuff like that. I like to have Phantasm. That's another series that I like to have just my own copy. Brewster, you say I'm diabetic too. Dana, I lost weight and now I'm hypoglycemic. Oh, yeah, I mean, you can't win, can you? You lose weight to help with things, and then it's like it helps one thing, but then causes something else. It's just, it's like the medicines they put you on now. It will help with one thing and cause other problems. So you just can't win. It seems like. But back to the topic at hand. But you guys keep on chatting away. I'm starting to feel better now. Not as swimmy headed as I was. Um, I called this Terror in the House Tuesday. And it's just something that I just pulled out of a hat, or, relatively speaking, pulled out of a hat or pulled out of my butt or whatever. Because I was thinking, what could I do that begins with T or something that goes along with Tuesday? And then I was like, why don't I do something where the horror or the terror or whatever comes from someone or something in the house? Because I don't know about you guys, but I just find that very terrifying. The thought that either somebody is hiding in the house or they break into the house, which is similar to home invasion. And to me, it's infinitely more terrifying if there's someone in the house and they're hidden, and the people that are in the house do not know that this person is there, and they're slowly taking people out one by one. For instance, I swear, I'm going to kill Sammy if I have to keep getting up. I don't know why, but Sammy thinks I guess he thinks it's time to get up and eat. I don't know why he thinks that, but Oh, yeah, Steve was telling me about the Criterion, flash sale, Dirk, and, he was telling me that Barnes& and Noble wasn't in on this sale. You know how Barnes& and Noble usually will have the Criterion stuff half off? They're not doing that this time. I was like, "Well, why not?" And Steve was like, "Well, they're just not doing it this time." Um, hey, Blissful. Rooster, you say mushroom theory. You push one down, another pops up. Um, so, like I was saying, I think it's infinitely more terrifying if the person doing these bad things is in the house. They're hidden, like I said, like Black Christmas, which I'm going to talk about once again tonight, just because I absolutely love that movie. But I've got some other ones mixed in here, um, that I know at least two, maybe three of these I have not talked about before. So I hope, um, that you guys enjoy this, and maybe you can come up with some new movies to watch that you haven't seen before. And Texas, I did put the list of movies in the description for this, in case you guys want to go back and peruse the titles. So Texas, you said this flash sale's only for one day. I guess that's why Criterion's not doing it, because what would be the point, probably, if it just, I don't know why all these places have to do these flash sales, though. They just do a sale for a week or something. That's my thing. Because what if you're broke? Like, I'm kind of broke right now, and I won't get paid until Friday, so I think Steve got something, but I don't know if he said he got dazed and confused. But I don't know if he got that through the Criterion sale or he got it somewhere else. Texas, you say you saw the list. Thanks. Well, you're very welcome. I aim to please. So we're going to go ahead, because I'm feeling better now. I've ate most of my peanut butter sandwich, drink a lot of this juice, and I better get started before Sammy starts barking again. um, so anyway, the first movie, and some of these are going to be babysitter movies too, because as we all know, the babysitter movies, a lot of times, either, somebody comes in from the outside, or they're already situated in a house, or whatever, when somebody is babysitting. So the first movie I wanted to talk about is Fright from 1971. And I do have a physical copy of this movie. And this has Susan George in it. And this one, guys, I think one of the reasons why I ended up getting this, it was kind of a blind buy, but there was a quote on the front of this: one of the very best horror films of the 70s. Just don't watch it alone. And when I read something like that, it's almost guaranteed I'm going to try to get my hands on whatever movie it is. And this was from 10 Years of Terror British Horror Films of the 1970s. Um, and I'm betting that Darren has seen this. Um, I don't think Darren's in here tonight, or he's not chatting yet. But I'm just willing to bet that he has. And it also says before Halloween, before When a Stranger Calls, there was only one true fright. And like I said, it's a slow burn. I mean, some people may get bored with it. I did not, because I appreciate those slow burns from time to time. And this had a lot of atmosphere. I thought Susan George was really good in this. And on that note, I'm going to give you a little bit of a plot synopsis for this. But before I do that, here's another little quote. Horror fans consider Fright to be the first film to use the horror trope of an isolated babysitter who gets stalked by a madman. Amanda, which is Susan George's character, is a beautiful young blonde babysitter who takes a job one evening, can't even talk, guys, evening in a remote mansion in the British countryside. Over the night, a series of creepy occurrences lead her to the horrifying realization that the house is being stalked by the ex-husband of the baby's mother, who has just escaped from the asylum after trying to kill the mother and strangle the baby. Roger Ebert says because Susan George is awfully good at playing threatened, innocent blonde victims, and because Ian Bannon makes a suitable maniacal and homicidal killer, Fright is a passably good thriller. Well, I don't agree with old Roger Ebert. Don't mean to speak ill of the dead, but Roger Ebert and Gene Siskel, either one, didn't like too many horror films anyway. So I always took what they said with a grain of salt. Um, So, in the genre of the virginal babysitter versus homicidal maniac films, Fright truly stands alone. Director Peter Collinson, who also did Straight On Till Morning and The Italian Job, and screenwriter Tudor Gates, who did Twins of Evil and Lust for a Vampire, deliver a shocker full of creepy style, wild scares, and some very nasty surprises. Dennis Waterman, Scars of Dracula, and Ian Bannon, Flight of the Phoenix, co-star in this classic 1971 chiller, now presented in a new widescreen transfer from original British vault elements. And Anchor Bay put this one out, guys, way back when. um, Maybe 2002 was when Anchor Bay released this. Dirk, you say, I may have seen this. I don't remember for sure. Aren't there several Frights? Yeah, you could be right, Dirk. This is the main one that I remember, but I think there are some other films with that title. Dirk, you say, yeah, fuck them. They trash so many great films. But yes, I would highly, and I don't know what is on the case of my movie. Lord knows how long it's been there. I haven't had this one out in a while. And I was going to try to rewatch it and refresh myself before I did the stream, but I didn't get around to it because I was refreshing myself on another movie that I'm going to talk about tonight. Hey, Darren, I thought you had mentioned Fright before, and it's definitely one of my favorites as well. I just can't say enough good things about it. I mean, the setup, I mean, a lot of this stuff wouldn't quite work today because if you put somebody in a remote area and they can still use their cell phone. Um, it makes things seem a little less isolated. And if you have a cell phone, that means whoever this intruder is, or killer, or whatever, maniac, whatever you want to call them, can't cut the phone lines for a cell phone. But back in the days when we didn't have cell phones, and we didn't have the internet, um, just like when we see, even in the first Scream movie, Sydney is dialing 911 through the internet. Um, Now I'm sure, some killer or something could cut the lines for your internet, but it would be a little more difficult than cutting a phone line that's maybe running up the side of a house or something like that. And the thing with cell phones is they'd have to destroy a cell phone tower to probably cause any sort of havoc with your cell phone, unless you're just in an area where you absolutely it was a dead area and you didn't really have a signal. But back in 1971, when this movie came out, there weren't cell phones, there wasn't the internet, or there wasn't the internet that the public at large could use. Maybe the government was using it, the military was using it, but it wasn't for public consumption. But back in 1971, as Dirk says, he says, yeah, definitely more effective back in the day. Um, yes, Darren, I agree. This was definitely a forerunner to Halloween, which I'm also going to talk about tonight. But yeah, this was some of the early stuff, and it was British too. And I am a huge, huge, huge fan of select groups of British horror. I've talked about loving Pete Walker's films, and I like this film. And, they're almost on the level for me of the Canadian films, because not only were the Canadians kind of showing us up in the good old United States, in the UK, they were doing the same thing, because they were just making so many more greater films than what was coming out in the States. I mean, just historically, you look at things, and I'm not saying we didn't have great films in the States. I'm just saying it seemed like in the UK, in Canada, in other places, there were a lot more. Um, and it also seemed like they were taking more chances than we were here in the States. I'm not sure exactly why that was, but God bless them for doing that, because they put out some really, really great films. So I would definitely encourage you guys, if you have not seen Fright, if you can find a for free version of it somewhere. Again, I'm not telling you to go out and buy it, because you may not love it as much as I do. So, I don't want somebody to waste their hard-earned money on something that they don't really like. But I would say, if you're intrigued enough by me talking about it tonight, then yeah, definitely seek it out in a for free version. Actually, I didn't even look. It may be. Could possibly be on YouTube. Let's see if it is. Or it could be on Tubi, or I see trailers and stuff for it, so maybe not. I see like the official trailers and stuff like that. Oh, believe it or not, 2 years ago, Rainbow did a movie review for this one. So you could check his thoughts out on it. Guys, I think I hear Brandon bark, and I'm going to go check. Hopefully, I don't have to step away about 1,000 times. I am going to mute my mic, though. Okay. I was hoping I'd remember to unmute my mic when I came back. Now, the other two boys had to go outside, of course. So I'll have to get them back in. Sorry, guys, trying to finish up that peanut butter sandwich, and I'm getting peanut butter all over everything. Let's see. Darren, you said The Haunted House of Horror 1969 is another one you would like. It's basically a slasher with Frankie Avalon, who went on to star in Bloodsaw. Now, I have seen Bloodsaw, but I don't believe I've seen Haunted House of Horror. I'll have to check that one out. Texas, you say this was done before or after Die Screaming Marianne, which I thought was decent. Not exactly one of my favorite Pete Walker films, though. I think I really like The Comeback. But I guess my all-time favorite Pete Walker film is probably Schizo. Rooster, you say, is that a young Britt Eklund in Fright? And Texas answered that it is Susan George. Yeah, very young Susan George, Rooster. So, which brings us to Black Christmas, which was not on this original list I was going by, but I can't let an opportunity pass me by to talk about Black Christmas when I'm talking about some killer that's hiding in a house, and the people in the house do not know this person's there, and they're slowly picking off the players one by one. And Black Christmas, Bob Clark's fantastic Christmas horror film that I watch every year at Christmas time. It never fails. Once I discovered this movie, and as I've said before, the very first time I saw Black Christmas, I think I saw it under the title of Stranger in the House. And I didn't really like it. I didn't get it and thought it was vulgar and not much else. Um, Good Lord, I don't know what I was thinking at that point in time. My brain must have had a dead battery or something, because the second time around when I watched it, and maybe it was the environment I was watching it in the second time, it was late at night. I was alone in the living room, sitting there watching it, and the phone calls start, and they get more and more ominous as the film goes on, until you are sure that, because you've already seen one murder near the beginning of the film, so you know what this person is capable of. But the phone calls start out to be like kind of low grade, um, obscene phone calls. And then they get more and more threatening. And actually, the first call that comes to the sorority house, when Barb gets on the phone with the guy, and she calls him a fucking creep at one point, and he says, "I'm going to kill you." Just as calm and straightforward as can be, and then hangs up. That is very chilling, because he didn't say it in any kind of weird voice. It was very calm, very matter of fact, but it was chilling all the all the more for that reason, I think. Um and things get progressively creepier and threatening, until you have one girl who is left to face off against this killer, this crazy guy who definitely means her harm as he meant harm to her housemates. So, fantastic film. I mean, I think all of you guys in here tonight have more than likely seen Black Christmas. Um, the remake, the first remake of Black Christmas, I didn't really much care for it when it first came out. I didn't hate it, but now it's kind of grew on me, so I like it a little bit better than I did. But there's nothing like the classic, the original. Bob Clark hit the nail on the head with this one. Knocked it out of the ballpark, whatever you want to say about it. And if somebody were, let's say somebody was just getting into horror, or let's say they came from another planet and never heard of a horror movie, but they wanted to see one. They wanted to see what it was like. Yeah, I'd recommend Black Christmas all the way. And some of you are probably thinking, that one's a little hardcore, Dana, to be introducing somebody to horror. But I think that's what I would want to do, because I would want to show them what horror really is. And I think that Black Christmas does that. I mean, there are other films that do that and do it well, but Black Christmas was one of the early ones that just, once I sat down and really watched it and really paid attention to it, and had the right atmosphere behind me, I truly came to appreciate what Bob Clark did with this movie. And it's, in my opinion, it's a masterpiece. It's a horror masterpiece. And, I'm sad, that unfortunately Bob Clark left us at, he was older, but he was still too young to leave this world, and it was just a terrible way for him to go. There wasn't any way out of it, um, because of the circumstances that happened. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Reggie scared the shit out of me jumping on the door. Hold on just one sec. So sorry, guys. Maybe everybody will be settled down now. I hope. Anyway. Um, Texas, you say I like Schizo, but still Frightmare is my favorite. Frightmare's good too. I enjoy it. Texas, you said once again, Kier delay sucks. His character sucked because I thought his character was hateful and Black Christmas. Oh my gosh. Hold on. I'm not gonna mute the mic. Y'all probably think I'm so mean to my animals, but that's getting really irritating. Sammy barking at every single thing. Um, but as far as Keir Delay's acting, I don't think he sucks. Darren, you say agreed. Text Frightmare is fantastic. Um, I can't bring myself to go that far, Dirt, but I value your opinion. I do. And it was one of the precursors to Halloween. So I could definitely see people saying that. Darren, you say it's only in the last 10 years that Black Christmas is getting its due. I remember before that, no one really knew about it unless you were hardcore. Yeah, Darren, you were right about that. And then it seemed like people kind of came out of the woodwork with it. I mean, not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying it did seem like it was, like you said, in the last 10 years. Well, she said, I mean, harm to the toilet every morning. Rooster, you say, how did Olivia Hussey find her way to that movie? Um, I was thinking Olivia Hussey talked to I don't know, a fortune teller or something, or somebody like that, that could foretell the future. And I think she was the one that they told her, um, that she should take this movie that she was going to be offered, and maybe they mentioned that it was a horror movie, and so she did it. Really? What did she say? Care, dole, more like it. Um, Dirk, you say John Saxon had a hell of a career. He was in the first Jallo Girl Who Knew Too Much and the first slasher of Black Christmas. Not to mention all the other films he was in. Yeah, John Saxon did have a hell of a career. Um, a very expansive career, and he had a lot of great roles. And I mean, some of his greatest roles, I think, are like the overseas stuff. Um, when he was in the Jallos. Um, and at first, I was shocked at how many that John Saxon was actually in. Oh boy, there's a lot of Kier delay hate in the chat tonight. Oh yeah, right there in Nightmare Beach. Yeah, I bet you would like to see me introducing an alien to Black Christmas. They might shoot me with their laser guns or whatever. Olivia Hussey's good, but I still have such fondness for Jamie Lee Curtis. Well, she say Bob Clark was a great dude. Signed DVD is one of my prized possessions. I wish I had something that was signed by Bob Clark. I wish I could have met him. Blissful, you say you're baiting 71 to come in. Yeah, she should come in. Uh, Rooster, you say, I thought that even though Olivia Hussey was older, she played a spaced out co ed very well. I thought she was uh, very well suited for that. I mean, even though I really like Caroline Monroe, I mean, when Caroline Monroe, and even she'll admit that she was way too old to be in Slaughter High, it, she's beautiful and all that, but it was almost ridiculous having her play supposedly a high school student, and when it was obvious that she was way, way older. What? Who's a killer, Dirk? You talking about Care Delay? No, I did not see that, Rooster. That's pretty cool, though. Yeah, the Dead Pit interview was a really, really good one. Well, she said Black Christmas was one of those films that became more of a classic when the DVD came out and it was more readily available. Yeah, I agree. Because probably a lot of people didn't even know about it or hadn't seen it, or especially younger generations at that time. Hey, Kelly. Um, well, I've had to go away several times, Uncle Bill, because Brandon was restless. Sammy was kept barking, so I had to keep getting up with him and trying to make him be quiet so y'all don't have to hear Steve say shut up or come in here and get really nasty because he gets woken up. Kelly, you say Halloween is the best, but Black Christmas is great too. Kelly's a lot like me with our choices of what we like. What did she say? Olivia Hussey consulted with Miss Cleo. Holy crap. Um, Rooster, you say, Uncle Bill, I was thinking we should all go in for a cameo with Tiffany Shepis for CK if she is on there. Yeah, that is a good idea, Darren. And I would certainly like to do that too. So hopefully in the near future I can put this, put something together. Blissful, you say Texas is salty because he has to wait for his Florida T-shirt to get to him. Blissful says you're getting one and you'll love it. It was really hard to find that Nickelback Florida tour shirt. Yeah, Dirk, when the dog was banging on the door. Reggie, he's done that a bunch of times because when he gets ready to come in, he just leaps on the door and it scares the shit out of me every time he does that. Texas, you say, Darren, I saw an interview where John Saxon said he didn't remember doing Cannibal Apocalypse and said it was garbage. And a friend of mine said, you're sure, uh, did he remember making that money though? I think I had read something or heard something where he said he didn't really remember about that movie. But on the other hand, I think Giovanni Lombardo Radice, I think he appreciated that film. Darren, you say, Tex, I love Cannibal Apocalypse. I think Cannibal Apocalypse is an interesting movie. Um, to me, it's kind of a different take on the whole cannibal thing or zombie thing or whatever you want to refer to it as. Okay, so yeah, I could go on and on about Black Christmas, but I won't because I've talked about it a bunch of times in other streams. And Dirk likes Cannibal Apocalypse as well. So that brings us to the next movie, which was on the list that I was looking at, Halloween from 1978, the original classic, even though this has pretty crappy artwork, I must admit, but it is a 4K, um, which the 4K itself looks great. Um, so, just I'm not going to go on and on about Halloween because this is another movie that I'm sure you guys that are currently chatting, and probably almost everybody, if not everybody, that will watch this later has seen and or heard of Halloween. But after viewing the 1976 John Carpenter film Assault on Precinct 13, a pair of movie producers approached Carpenter with an idea. They wanted him to write and direct a film about a terrorized babysitter. Carpenter agreed, and along with his ex-girlfriend Deborah Hill, herself a former babysitter, they worked on a script about a man who had murdered his sister on Halloween night 15 years prior, only to escape from the mental hospital, return to his town, and start stalking babysitters. And thus was born one of the most famous horror franchises of all time. And spawned a lot of garbage as of late, unfortunately. But the original is still great. This is one that I watch. I could watch any time of the year, but when it starts getting fall, gets closer and closer to Halloween, yeah, I got to pull this sucker out. And a lot of times I get it out before October even gets here just because I don't really need an excuse to watch this movie because it's so great. This is another one that is full of atmosphere. John Carpenter was at his best when he was doing stuff like Halloween. I mean, he did other great movies. I thought he did an excellent job with Christine. He did Prince of Darkness, which is fantastic. They Live. I mean, we could go on and on and on about John Carpenter films. In fact, I may do, John Carpenter films at some point in time. I mean, he's had some stinkers. He has. But what director really hasn't had a couple of, or maybe more than a couple of stinkers in their career? Rooster, you say Apocalypse was one we used to watch VHS with Faces of Death. Holy cow. That's quite a duo. Bliss, what you say? I used to buy home decor during Halloween. LOL. Well, nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of cool home decor around that time period. So, like I said, I'm not gonna, do a complete plot breakdown of Halloween because I think that would just be ridiculous. There's really no need to do that. But if for whatever reason you have never seen this film, I urge you to seek out a for free version and watch this sucker. Just watch it and immerse yourself in one of John Carpenter's finest films, in my opinion. But don't go out and buy it if you don't already own it. Don't go out and buy it, okay? But try to find a for free version. Okay, so the next one is also one that I just kind of came up with off the top of my head because I was thinking about this thing of like the terror from within the house. How many movies are like this? And I didn't want to pick them all off this list I was looking at. So I was glad that I thought of this one because this one was very, very creepy and terrifying to me. I mean, it still is, but when like the first couple of times I watched it, it really got under my skin and stayed there. And that's Are You in the House Alone? And I have a Blu-ray of this finally, because I got that televised terror box set that had this from Vinegar Syndrome. So I don't know how many of you have seen Are You in the House Alone? I believe this is based on it's based on the novel by Richard Peck. Richard Peck wrote a lot of like young adult novels. So you may have read the book once upon a time, but didn't see the movie, or vice versa. So Gail Osborne, this is Kathleen Beller's character, the dark-headed girl there, whose life is turned upside down after she's attacked and savagely assaulted. In other words, she gets raped. Unsure of who was behind her brutalization, Gail does her best to continue her life. Um, that is untrue because she knows who raped her. But the thing is, she doesn't think anybody will believe her uh, about who attacked and raped her. Gail does her best to continue her life, but when a mystery person begins leaving her threatening messages, see, this is telling it all backwards. But I don't know who wrote this plot synopsis here, but actually, she gets the phone calls, the notes that say, I'm watching you, um, the steadily worsening phone calls. First, it's like, breathing heavy, and then towards the when it gets closer to where she is actually attacked, it gets more sinister, with asking, "Are you in the house alone?" And I can't do it justice, because it is just so creepy. And when you hear the voice of the person that ends up attacking her saying it the same way, and you're like, damn, he's the one, and he's in the house with her. So this is somebody that she did not see as a threat, really. He was kind of sexist and all that, but she didn't ever imagine that he would brutalize her in such a way. And because this guy was dating her best friend. And after she accuses him of the rape, her best friend turns against her. So not only has she had to deal with the brutal rape and assault on her person, but her best friend in the whole world turns against her because she accuses her best friend's boyfriend of this horrible crime. Um, so, so just keep in mind that this is kind of going in reverse. I don't know if the person did not watch the movie that wrote this or what, but um, who could it be, and just how far are they prepared to take their macabre plans? They don't really, it's not one of those things where the person um, attacks them. I mean, you see the aftermath of the rape at the beginning of the film, and then it goes back. So maybe that's where somebody was confused, but um, because she does the whole thing where the doctors are asking her, "Do you know who did this to you, Gail?" And she says, "I." Something to the effect of, I know who it is, but nobody will believe me. I can't tell them because nobody will believe me. But he was there. He was at the lake. And then it goes back to actually, the first scene with her and her best friend, and they are at the lake, and somebody is clearly watching them. Um, One of those great creepy point of view shots. Um, this was a classic made for TV thriller that oozes late 70s charm at its every twist and turn. Career TV director Walter Gurman's The Twilight Zone, Murder, She Wrote, late night TV favorite, Are You in the House Alone? develops a slow burn, edge of your seat mystery where the threat of violence lurks around every corner. Starring Kathleen Beller, TV's Dynasty, alongside Blythe Danner, Meet the Parents, character actor and acclaimed producer Tony Bill, The Sting, and Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid's in this, guys. Inner Space and Far From Heaven in one of his earliest roles. Vinegar Syndrome was pleased to bring Are You in the House Alone to Blu-ray, newly restored in 2K from its 35mm inner positive. So, guys, you may think, it's just a TV movie. It couldn't be that great. Trust me, guys, it is. It's creepy in all the right spots. It works. It would almost work as a straight ahead horror movie almost. Even though there's not any kind of slashing or anything like that. Just the guy that does, participates in this horrible crime and does this horrible thing to this girl for no reason at all. I mean, there is no reason, is there, for something like that? And then the guy has the gall to just go around because his family's got a lot of money, like nothing ever happened. And he even tells his girlfriend that Gail threw herself at him. How many times have we heard that in different, different movies or books that we've read that have something about assault as their cornerstone. But this one is really good. I think Kathleen Beller is great as I guess you would call her the heroine in this. I mean, not really a final girl because this horrible assault happened, but I don't think she's ever in danger of dying, getting cut up or slashed or anything like that. Somebody else that's in this movie is Scott Columbine, who he's played, like in Caddyshack, he played a kind of cocky guy in that as one of the caddies. He was also in Porky's, and he was a nice guy in Porky's. But he is just the character of Steve in this is so sweet and so, I don't know, he's kind of like the everyman boyfriend, the boyfriend that all girls want to have. So, yeah, I can't recommend Are You in the House Alone enough. I don't think this is one that I've talked about or have not talked about very much. So I did want to bring this one up in case there were those of you that had never seen this, maybe never heard of it. You can probably more than likely find this in some free outlet or another. And that's what I would encourage you to do rather than going out and spending money buying it when you might not like it as much as I do. Texas, you say, I got that Are You in the House Alone in the televised terror box set. I remember watching that on TV when it first aired. I wish, sometimes I wish that I could have watched that stuff when it first aired because it would have been amazing. But, evidently that wasn't meant to be. Darren, you say, I got that box set and still need to see it. Kathleen Beller also made another slasher, No Place to Hide, in 1981. That is right, Darren. And I think I've watched part of that, but not all of it. Richard, you say, I like the opening credit font with the torn pieces of paper like a 70s blackmail note for a 70s mail note for blackmail. Yeah, exactly. Dirk, you say, I have a rule. If I buy a box set, it's getting watched immediately. LOL. Dirk, you say, TV movies are great back in the day. Not so much since the 90s. I would agree. I would definitely agree with that, Dirk. Dirk, you say Hooper's Salem's Lot was a TV movie. It's still my favorite Bant flick of all time. That Salem's Lot is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I could talk and talk and talk about that movie. Darren, you say Salem's Lot still scares me now. Yeah, I mean, there are some parts of that. Sorry, guys. Excuse me. I've also been sneezing a lot, hence probably some of the headaches. Um, so yeah, Salem's Lot has so many creepy scenes in it. I mean, that was a movie that even scared Steve as a kid. He said that I think he drew the covers up over his neck, because the scene of the boy when he turns into a vampire and he's floating outside the other boy's window, and you can see the vampire teeth, and he's, open the window, Mark. He commands it, Mark. And he's like, that is creepy. But I think the creepiest part ever for me is when Mike, I believe, the cemetery caretaker, gets turned, and he gets into the teacher's house, and he's upstairs, and he's in the rocking chair, and he's kind of got his head down, and he raises his head up when the teacher gets up there, and his eyes are glowing, and he's just like that. And he does that whole thing where, look at me, teacher. And he just, the movements he does with his head and all of that is just very, very creepy, very effective. And I think that's why people will remember that movie so well. You know, why, like you, Darren, so many people are still frightened of it. But it's one of those things that even if you are frightened of it, you can't stop yourself from watching it because it's just so incredible. Durkee say, hell yeah, Darren, it's timeless. Exactly. Rooster, you say there are scenes in Salem's Lot that still scare me. The practical effects were so simple but very effective. Agree. Yep, the rocking chair scene. Yes, Dark. That's probably my favorite and most creepy scene. Kelly, you say, I think that's the first film that I saw a kid being sinister and dead. And I was about the same age. It freaked me out. Yeah, I mean, that some of that stuff is subtle, but it will still freak you out. And that's why I think, even though Hooper had some stinkers along the way as well, that's why I still consider him to this day a fantastic filmmaker. Rooster, you say it's very practical. It is practical and it is very scary. Oh, yes. Dead and Buried. Oh, man. Yeah. There's just something about the fabric that's woven through that movie, Dead and Buried, that makes me uneasy the whole time I'm watching it. Um, good one to bring up, Texas. So, anyway, that's Are You in the House Alone? Highly, highly recommend it. So that brings us to the next movie from 1979, and that's the Amityville Horror. And I know I have talked about Amityville Horror before, so I'm not going to go on and on and on about it. But whether you believe it or not, the Amityville Horror is based on the real life story of Ronnie DeFeo, which really, Amityville Horror talks a little bit about that, but not fully, who murdered his entire family one night in 1974 at their house in the village of Amityville on Long Island. After another couple bought the house, the Lutz family, They reported several disturbing incidents that suggested the house was haunted. The Amityville Horror involves a babysitter, um, but she's not central to the plot. And this was actually a list of babysitter horror movies, but it also went with that intruder or somebody hiding in the house, or in this case, something in the house, something supernatural. So that's why they say the Amityville Horror involves a babysitter, but she's not central to the plot. A phantom demon locks her inside a bedroom closet as it terrorizes the house. Um, I don't know, love it or hate it. I am a lover of the Amityville Horror. I know that Margot Kidder had referred to it in many times as a piece of shit. Um, she didn't think much of the movie at all. This movie, okay, but think about it, guys. Hollywood got a hold of this movie, or got a hold of the book, rather. And people want, some people anyway, want to blame the Lutz family for creating a fabrication about what happened in that house in Amityville, because primarily, in my opinion, because of what Hollywood did with the source material and put this movie out. This movie is a great horror movie, but it is not entirely representative of the book. I read the book too. Um, and even George Lutz, before his passing, had said in his final years on this earth that the stuff, about all that slime and stuff like that, he said that that was overdone, that Hollywood got a hold of that. It wasn't exactly like that in the house when they lived in it. Um, so, not only had the Lutzes taken some flack over the years, but a lot of the people, including Ed and Lorraine Warren, who came to the house as paranormal researchers or what have you, um, that they've taken a lot of flack as well. So it was almost like this movie was born under a bad sign. And people, some people are unable to, I guess, separate fact from fiction and be able to enjoy this movie for what it is, a horror movie. It might be loosely based on what the Lutzes went through, but it, it's not taken verbatim. Okay. Um, so, and I don't, I leave the Lutz's personal life out of that. To me, what went on in their personal life, right or wrong, if George Lutz was an asshole stepfather to them kids, that is not central to what happened to him in the house. It's not central to this movie. Okay. Um, if he did abuse those kids, it doesn't make it right. If he abused Kathleen Lutz, it doesn't make it right. But you can't really mix that in with the story at hand. And I don't mean to sound like I'm getting on a soapbox, but it seems like a lot of times when you bring up the Amityville Horror, people want to bring up, yeah, but, yeah, but, yeah, but. Okay, if you're going to watch the movie, just enjoy it as a supernatural horror movie. If you're going to read the book, read it and get what you can from it. I'm not asking you to believe everything. I do believe me personally, I believe there are ghosts and spirits, and I guess if there's good spirits, there can be evil spirits, and there can be demons and all that stuff, but not everybody believes in all that stuff. So, you know, But if you watch the Amityville Horror movie, just I urge you, especially if you've never seen it before, and you go and you watch a for free version, um, just go into it with the thinking, okay, this is a horror movie. I'm just going to watch it with that mindset and see what you are able to get out of it. Rooster, you say Dead and Buried was filmed in a village, Mendocino, next to my old hometown. Oh, that's cool. Yes, Darren, I agree. The soundtrack to the Amityville Horror is so creepy. I know lots of people don't like this, and I don't get it. Staple of my childhood. That remake was a piece of shit. I do agree with that, Darren. I hated the remake. Dirk, you say, I love Amityville Horror, but part two is my favorite. The franchise is just so damn twisted. It certainly is because it with Amityville 2, it starts out kind of like a loose retelling of the DeFeo family's fate. And then it kind of, as you say, it's just so damn twisted. It takes lots of twists and turns along the way, and you're like, holy shit, what is going on with this movie? Darren, you said part two is great. I agree for different reason. Very underrated. Kelly, you say, I watch a show called Murder, Makeup, and Mystery Monday, and she did the Lutz story. Oh, that's cool. Darky said the 7-minute one take possession scene is gold in part two and unreal how it was shot. I agree with that too. Darren, you say if you want to see Ryan Reynolds chopping wood for 20 minutes, check out the remake. Exactly. Dirk, you say the remake ain't worth the time. I agree with all of those statements. Rooster, you say, seen Amityville in the theater. The pig with the red eyes scared the shit out of me. It is embarrassing now. LOL. Well, don't feel bad, Rooster, because my mom tells me that when I was really, really young, this is one of my great shames, guys. I was afraid of Jaws. I was. And when I got older, I loved that movie and I still love it to this day. Like I've said before, that's a movie that me and my dad will drop everything and watch. If I happen to be visiting them now and Jaws was on, me and dad would drop everything and sit down and watch it. That's just one of our movies. So Blissful, you watch that show as well. I'm going to have to check that out. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox now about Amityville Horror and move on to the next film, which I think was on this list. Yes, When a Stranger Calls from 1979. And you guys are probably thinking, oh, God, Dana, haven't you talked about that movie enough? No, not really, because I just absolutely freaking love this movie. And here's something that if I got a call like this while babysitting, I'd probably lose my shit. What the line says is, imagine babysitting and receiving a creepy call saying, have you checked the children lately? And I would lose it, especially after seeing this movie. And if I was babysitting sometime after that and that happened. So this is based on a well-known urban legend known as the Babysitter and the Man Upstairs. I know you guys have probably all heard that particular urban legend. So When a Stranger Calls stars Carol Kane as Jill Johnson, and Carol Kane is absolutely fantastic in this. Carol Kane's known a lot for more comedic roles, but she nails this one. And as Jill Johnson, she starts receiving harassing phone calls one night while babysitting the doctor's children. She doesn't realize until it's too late that the caller is inside the house and has already murdered all the children. She escapes unharmed, if emotionally shattered, only for the killer to come back 7 years later with the intent of killing her. And guys, yes, I have to talk about how utterly creepy this movie is. This is the Blu-ray, but it's one of those retro ones that looks like it's a VHS with the VHS kind of slid out a little bit. I love these kind of retro slip covers. It's even got one of those horror stickers on it. And yes, yes, Kelly. When a stranger calls is so freaking scary, still freaks me out. It freaks me out every time I rewatch it, but I can't stay away from this damn movie just because of how absolutely well made this is. It was directed by Fred Walton, who also did April Fool's Day. Um, Kelly, you say the idea that a killer can be inside the same house as me without me knowing is terrifying. Yes. That is something that's probably been known to keep people awake at night, even if they're not watching these movies that we're talking about tonight. Um, Darren, you say when a stranger calls is a top 10 slasher for me. The first 15 minutes is as good as anything you'll see. Exactly. Damn near perfect. And Tony Beckley, who plays the killer in this, oh my God, this guy was fantastic in this movie, because I could really believe that the guy was off his rocker, crazy. And the imagery in this movie as well, and even auditory things. And I'm going to talk about a couple of those things. There is one part where the cop or detective or whatever you want to call him, played by Charles Durning, goes to the mental hospital where Tony Beckley's character was for many years, uh, until he escaped. And Charles Durning's character goes to the mental hospital and he wants to find out all he can about this guy so he can hopefully be able to catch him before he does harm to anybody else. And so the head of the mental hospital allows him to listen to one of those reel-to-reel tapes of the guy when they brought him in. And he's telling them, don't touch me. And they're saying, nobody's going to hurt you, just calm down. And he lets out a scream that is nerve shattering, and twisted, and stuck with me for a long, long time after I watched the movie. Another scene that really still sticks with me is when uh, Kurt or Court or however, I think it's Kurt. He is having some kind of meltdown and he's naked. And I believe he was very ill at this time. So he is very, very skinny. And he just kind of slides down till he's on the floor. And then it flashes to him in a straitjacket, apparently in a padded room. And the look on his face there, I don't know if the guy went and looked at mental patients. I don't know, but it was spot on. You could really believe that that guy had just lost it, that he was totally insane. And that was an image that stuck with me for a really, really long time. Um, And I agree totally with Darren when he says the first 15 minutes is as good as anything you'll see. Yeah, I thought he was, Darren. You said Tony Beckley was dying of cancer during filming, similar to the guy who played Reverend Kane in Poltergeist 2. Um, and I believe uh, the guy that played Mel in Sleepaway Camp, I believe he was dying of cancer. He may have not known he had cancer, but I believe he was very, very sick at that stage. And he was never really a big guy anyway. But he was extra skinny and kind of gaunt. So there have been several actors over the years that they continued to work when they were obviously very ill. And um I have not I don't think I have seen The Sitter. Darren, you say it's the short film it was based on. It's on the Blu-ray edition. Well, unfortunately, I think this version I've got, this is a Mill Creek version. So is this like the version you're talking about that has the sitter on it? Is that like one that got released in the UK? Because I would really like to get my hands on that and see it. So anyway, again, I'm not going to go on and on about this movie because I've championed this movie for a long, long time, and I'll probably keep championing it because it is definitely, even with the Colleen Dewhurst parts, I still find that creepy. Now, the stuff with Carol Kane at the beginning and the end are the best parts. But Colleen Dewhurst, the part in the middle that helps to pad out the movie to a good running time, it still works. I mean, the whole movie works. But the most terrifying stuff is the stuff that involves Carol Kane. I will say that. Um, but again, I'm not going to go on and on about it. But if you've never seen this movie, if you can find it for a free version, oh, please definitely check it out. Okay. Darren, you say, yeah, it's got the sequel When a Stranger Calls Back too. I think I have When a Stranger Calls Back on DVD somewhere. Second Sight. Okay, I'm gonna have to look into that. You think there's any copies still available where you can buy them? When did that release come out? Do you know, Darren? I swear, Dirt, you saw so many things as a kid that, I mean, my parents probably would have let me watch them. Maybe not The Exorcist, I don't know, but um, they probably would have let me watch stuff like When a Stranger Calls, but I don't know, when I was real young, I don't know if I would have been ready for something like that. Darren, you say 3 years ago, I think they did a US version too. I'm gonna look into that because, like I said, I would really, really love to see that short film. Okay, so we got two more or three more, actually, I think, to cover, or no, four more. Okay, so the next one I'm going to talk about is The Babysitter from 1980 now, guys. There's a ton of movies called The Babysitter or The Sitter or The Babysitter Massacre, and all, like, there are a ton of stuff. Um, so The Babysitter is considered to be the first evil babysitter movie. And Stephanie Zimbalist is the evil babysitter. This was a made-for-TV movie, guys, but this one is very, very effective and has several creepy moments in it. And I think Stephanie Zimbalist, again, she nails the crazed babysitter to a T. So she stars uh, as a mentally imbalanced young woman who takes on a babysitting gig while attempting to seduce the father, played by William Shatner. That's not a stretch, is it, guys? With William Shatner's track record, and enabling the mother, played by Patty Duke, to sink further into alcoholism. The Babysitter was said to be a huge influence on 1992's The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, as well as other non babysitter related films involving malicious females who seek to destroy domestic tranquility, such as Fatal Attraction and Single White Female. So, I rewatched this one off of YouTube. It wasn't a really good copy, but I think there are other versions, so you might be able to find a better version out there. But if you guys have never seen The Babysitter from 1980, man, oh man, you need to, because yeah, it's a made for TV movie. There's not going to be a lot of blood and gore and stuff getting splashed on the walls. But this one is very, very effective with the atmosphere. And I will never forget this one shot near the end of the movie where the doctor, who is suspicious of Joanna, Stephanie Zimbalist's character, from day one that he meets her, he knows there's something not quite right about her. So he kind of goes snooping, and he ends up at a house where she claimed she, I guess, was like a nanny for this couple's child. And he goes in the house, and it looks like there you have suitcases there, like they were getting ready to go on a trip. And basically, Joanna told people, yeah, they just left, and I didn't have a job. They decided to leave, and so their all their suitcases are there, like they're all ready to go, but the house is very dark, and it seems there's no people around. So I think the doctor makes his way upstairs and finds the married couple and their child in the bed wrapped in plastic. And that is an image that I will never ever forget. As long as I live, I will never forget that image. And there's other creepy images. For instance, when Joanna's coming towards the current family with a knife, um, and it's sort of kind of like the stepfather scenario with Terry O'Quinn's character and the stepfather. He wanted things to be perfect, and when they weren't perfect, he would kill the family and move on to another one. So that essentially that's what Joanna's character um, was doing. If the family disappointed her, or they found out something about her and wanted to get rid of her, she would just get rid of the family. Even going so far as to kill one woman's baby, which we never see a dead baby, thank goodness. But when the doctor is doing his snooping, he goes and talks to this woman, and she basically tells him, Joanna killed my baby, but nobody would believe me that she did it, but I know she did it. I think they said it was something like crib death. But, evidently Joanna was a bad apple all the way around. But near the end of the movie, she basically breaks down and wonders why she can't be part of a family. That's all she wants, basically. Um, because she's batshit crazy. That's why she even starts calling the current family she's with by the names of the family that was wrapped in plastic in their house. Um, so clearly unbalanced, but this movie very, very effective for a made for TV movie. It works on all levels. I would highly, highly recommend it to anybody. And like I said, there are several different versions on YouTube, so you can take your pick and find which one looks the best. Um, Texas, you say, how's Shatner's toupee? I basically know it's good if he has a great hairpiece. I guess I didn't pay much attention to that, Texas. I don't know what that noise was. I hope that wasn't Sammy getting started. But anyway, Darren, you say I've not seen this one, Dana. Intrigued now. Yeah, I would definitely check it out, Darren. Dirk, you say you need to see it as well. Or you say I'm looking at it now. Texas, it looks very TJ Hooker. Okay, so that brings us to the next film I wanted to talk about, which is Bloody Birthday, and this is my Arrow release. I have more than one release of it. This came out in 1981. So basic story: three children who were born during the height of solar eclipse return 10 years later to start murdering people, including their family members. One night, a babysitter named Joyce agrees to sit a little boy. Uh, no, she doesn't sit with a little boy named Timmy. She's staying with the girl. I don't know why they're saying Timmy. Timmy, I think, is her brother. But anyway, they got that wrong. Completely unaware that she's walking straight into a death trap. Two of the three murderous children attempt to shoot Joyce to death, while the third tries to strangle her using a jump rope. And a jump rope is used earlier in the movie to strangle someone. So this again is a movie that kind of has a Village of the Damned feel to it. I love killer kid movies. I can't get enough of those. And Bloody Birthday is an excellent specimen of a killer kid movie, in my opinion. But again, I'm not going to go on and on about it because Bloody Birthday is another one that I've talked about more than once. But it is, as Darren says here, Darren says, Bloody Birthday is so good. And I completely agree. Badass kids, exactly, Dirk. Uh, excuse me. All right. So that brings us to 1982's Alone in the Dark, which also has some very, very creepy moments. This is the collector's edition from Scream Factory that I got not very long ago. New Line Cinema put this out, written and directed by Jack Shoulder. You got Jack Palance, Donald Pleasance, Martin Landau, Dwight Schultz. I mean, you got a lot of very recognizable names in this movie. So if for some reason some of you have not seen Alone in the Dark, Alone in the Dark is often forgotten horror, survival, and slasher film with babysitters. It says with babysitter impersonation. Well, there's actually a babysitter in it, Bunky or whatever her name is. But then one of the killers pretends to be a babysitter. So I guess that's what they're talking about. American film production company New Line Cinema brought us this 80s slasher classic that involves four violent psychopaths escaping from a mental hospital. It is also a home invasion movie, as one of the psychopaths pretends to be the babysitter until the real babysitter shows up. Um, and what I mean by creepy moments is, for instance, Martin Landau's character, he sees a hat that he wants that the mailman has, and he says, "I want that hat." And they almost run over the poor guy who's on a bicycle, I believe, and he starts yelling at him. And Martin Landau just laughs at him and then evidently kills him and takes his hat. Jack Palance is also very crazed in this movie. The guy that pretends to be a babysitter, he doesn't really seem threatening, other than I think he is called a child molester in the film, which is creepy in and of itself. So we can't forget about that. But and he calls one little girl cutie, and she's like, "Don't call me cutie," but she doesn't know, what he is or who he is. But then there's also one of the killers that escapes from the mental hospital, is only referred to as the bleeder, because his nose will start bleeding. It's, at the drop of a hat, pretty much. And so I'm not going to give away who the bleeder is. And I couldn't figure it out the first time I watched the movie. Maybe, some of you might be able to figure it out. Um, but it is one of those creepy reveals when you do find out who it is. And kind of similar to Valentine, with the killer in Valentine, and that killer having nosebleeds. Um, so I don't know if they took that from Alone in the Dark, or that was just something that um, came into the filmmakers' minds. Darren, you say, saw this on UK TV and immediately fell in love with it. It's a slasher through and through. Yeah, I do believe that Bloody Birthday does have some different titles, Rooster. I'm not remembering them off the top of my head right now. Well, thank you, Darren. You say you're killing it tonight, Dana. Alone in the Dark is a fantastic film. Some really great performances, and it's generally scary at times. It certainly is, and that is one of the many reasons that I wanted to talk about this movie tonight. And, sometimes I have to look at these lists to get that aha moment, like, oh, yeah, that really fits in with what I wanted to talk about tonight. But like I said, I wanted to mix and match and take some of them from the list, some of them that came out of my head to add to the list. Um, Danny said, I love that song by the Sick Fucks too. What is it? Chop up your mother, chop, chop, chop up your mother. Yeah, that is, and the end scene where Jack Palance's character goes into that club, and he's got the gun, and like that chick who's kind of weird is like, I guess she doesn't think he would shoot her with that gun, but you know, very weird and intense scene there, as many of the scenes are in this movie. Yeah, got that song in my head now. Yeah, that will really easily get into your head. Um, so, oh, one thing I wanted, that this doesn't really have anything to do with horror movies, but Trish and Snooky, or Tish and Snooky, that were in the Sick Fucks, they have their own like makeup and hair dye company. They do, I believe they do the Manic Panic hair dye for any of you that use Manic Panic hair dye. But they also put out an eyeshadow palette, and I have the eyeshadow that their company puts out, which I thought that is so cool. Whenever I found out that it was those two ladies that their company put out the eyeshadow that I have. Oh yes, Happy Birthday to Me from 1981. I have talked about that one a whole lot. Um, I didn't pick it for tonight because I didn't think it really went along with the others that I was talking about. Um, but I think I've got one more to cover here. And that is 2009's The House of the Devil, the one kind of more modern, even though it's supposed to take place in the 80s. So, a young college student named Samantha accepts a babysitting job on the night of a full lunar eclipse. Over the course of the night, she realizes that her clients weren't who they portrayed themselves to be and that there is no baby in the house to sit. Rather than sitting and watching TV eating popcorn while the non existent children sleep, Samantha winds up in a life or death struggle for her own survival. And a lot of people, I think, and feel free to say I'm completely wrong on this, but I was thinking at one point in time that House of the Devil kind of got mixed reviews, or people had mixed feelings about House of the Devil. Me, I loved it the first time that I saw it, and something strange because I bought when it came out and kept the VHS sealed up. But I thought I had a DVD as well, and I could not find my DVD to save my life. So I don't know where it's at. I'm gonna have to start, hunting that up because, I don't want to have to rebuy that thing. If I could just, pull out the DVD and watch it. Um, yeah, and it is Ty West. Uh, yeah, Tish and Snooky, Texas. That is exactly right. Yeah, Dirk, there are two more Alone in the Dark films, 2005 and 2022. Yeah. Darky said, Happy Birthday to Me is an American Jallo for sure. Agreed. I agree. Um, Darky said, House of the Devil is amazing. My favorite Ty West film. Extremely low budget and did make its money back at the box office. And, I think that's because part of it is I don't think maybe the majority of the movie watching audience was not ready for something like that at the time. Maybe they're more ready for Ty West's brand of horror now. Um, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. My mom, on the other hand, I thought she liked it at first, but we were watching it one night and she fell asleep during it, but I thought she was enjoying it. And then I think she maybe finished it up the next day or something like that. And she told me how stupid she thought it was. So I was totally confused by that. I thought the movie was very, very effective, extremely effective. And I really like to find my damn DVD so I can watch it again. I mean, I'm sure I can. I'm sure I can find it. Um, Somewhere in some other outlet, or Steve's got it, I'm sure. Oh, that's cool, Texas. You say you're friends with them on Facebook? So, guys, I have went on for 2 hours, in between wrangling in the dogs and all that stuff. I probably wouldn't have went on quite as long if I had not had to do that, but I'm glad that everybody pretty much stuck around for the duration of this. I appreciate each and every one of you for stopping by. Um, but um, I am getting really, really tired, and I wanted to do this. I really wanted to do it, but now I'm starting to slow way, way down, and it's going to be time for me to take me a shower and try to veg out in front of the TV for a little bit and then get some rest for work tomorrow. But again, I want to thank all of you for coming into the chat and hanging out with me for a couple of hours as I talked about uh, movies that hopefully fit the Terror in the House Tuesday theme or the Terror in the House theme. Dirk, you say it's a slow burn full of suspense and atmosphere with a great payoff. You have a good one too, Darren. Thanks for stopping by. And on that note, guys, check me and TJ out tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the second half of season 3 of Tales from the Dark Side, our episode breakdown. And I don't know if I'll be doing anything Thursday. Heck, I might surprise you guys. And then we'll be having another watch along on Saturday, unless I get tied up at the Lexington Comic Con for too late, in which case I may have to reschedule. But right now, I'm planning on doing the watch along. Well, you're welcome, Rooster. You say thank you for another must watch list. Thanks, Dana. You take care as well, Dirk. And on that note, I'm going to skedaddle on out of here for the night, and I will see everyone on the flip side. You're welcome, Texas. You guys have a good night now.